Thank you for that intro and for the perfect lead-in for how did you know what I was jotting down there to talk to our colleagues and friends about. I want to share with you a story about 5 years ago when my youngest son was playing Division I college soccer. We got to travel to Seattle, Washington for a couple of games. And we heard, because my wife is a foodie and we like to eat, as you could probably tell, and we wanted to go to this famous chowder place. And we heard that this chowder place in Seattle had lines wrapped around the corner beginning at 11 o'clock, even though lunchtime didn't start until 12. And so we said we better get there early, and we did. We got there at about right around 11 o'clock, and we weren't right up at the front door like we thought we would be. We were probably halfway around the building already in line waiting for chowder. Now, this was a very, very good business. They did chowder really, 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 really well. They were the chowder experts. People came from all over searching for chowder. Now, one day, because they figured that they were good at soup, that they should make gumbo. And so they went ahead and they dabbled in gumbo and they played around in gumbo, and what happened was that they noticed that the line started to get a little bit shorter because lots of people around town were looking for gumbo and they were going to the gumbo experts. And so they started losing ground in what they were trying to do instead of gaining ground because they offered that extra thing that they weren't necessarily an expert at. So they decided, let's get back to what we know. Let's get back to chowder. And the lines returned. And the business is thriving. And it just so happened that we showed up to have some of the best chowder with a very focused menu choice, and we waited in line. Now, what the heck does that have to do with this session today? I believe that just because we can, and I do appreciate our broad scope, I think it's important that we are able to do the things that we're good at. But here's something for each of us as individuals I believe that we should really take to heart. That just because we can doesn't mean we should. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. I thought you said that very well with the criminal. If you're doing one type of law and then you want to go do another type of law, well, you need to go and you need to study it. You need to go and you need to learn it. Here's the challenge, the time that it takes for many of us to go learn that other thing and do that other thing, which we should always be learning and we should always be doing. We should always be doing that. But if you have a business and you have a practice and you want to help people and you want to grow in your practice and grow in what you do and grow in what you know, if you stay in your lane and just decide, this is profound what I'm about to say, just decide to become great at what you're good at. And then if you need to refer to another chiropractor for something that they're great at, refer to them because of what they're great at. Listen, I've been in practice 31 years. I proudly stand before you, helping chiropractors all over the world, seeing hundreds of people in my peak when I was in practice, a day in practice. Never had a board complaint, never had a board infraction, never had an insurance complaint, never had an insurance infraction. It's like, do what you're great at and just don't do stupid things. And then what happens is if you do it for the people and you're great at what you're good at and you stop chasing the money and settle into your lane. See, what happens is like Paul was saying, he's great at what he does. He's been at FCA for how many years?
I don't know, about 40.
40 years. Smart enough to know that if somebody came to him for criminal law, he'd say, you know what, I have a friend who's also a lawyer, who just happens to be a great criminal attorney, and what would happen is his friend would probably, the criminal attorney would probably refer to him. You know, we're one of the few professions that don't refer to each other. Think about this for a minute. It's so time that we grow up and mature as an industry, that we realize, see, I'm a chiropractor, and I was talking in my session yesterday when people asked me, I went to the dentist, the dentist said to me, so have there been any changes to your medical history, Dr. Plasker? And I said, well, I don't have a medical history. I've been utilizing chiropractic care and a healthy lifestyle my whole life, and it has kept me and my family strong and healthy. Now we have, because of other situations and accidents, we have used other providers outside of chiropractic, but it was for things that we don't do. A paralytic injury, a sprained ankle that was we thought was broken. We went to the hospital to get certain kinds of studies done on my son's ankle. But here's the thing, when I get adjusted, I like it a certain way. When I'm traveling a lot, I got a chiropractor that does activator better than I do activator, and I could dabble in it here and there, but if I'm really tight and stressed out, I'll go there. My wife, I've been adjusting her for 30 years. And she loves the way that I adjust her. There have been times where I have taken her to an Atlas orthogonal chiropractor because she needed specific upper cervical work. When I had a concussion a year and a half ago, my son, who's had training in functional neurology chiropractic, good friends with Dr. Antonucci here, he helped me. I got my neck adjusted, Gonstead diversified. I had neuro work done, and an occasional Atlas orthogonal adjustment, and I never needed any types of care. And when the accident happened, I would be lecturing, and I didn't realize how screwed up I was, but I was repeating myself. I was repeating myself. I was repeating myself, and I didn't know that I was repeating myself. Now I can joke about the fact that I was repeating myself. But listen, get great at what you're good at. There's a saying that I love from the NFL Network. It was on a commercial that they did last year. And what they said is that amateurs do things until they get it right. Professionals do things until they can't get it wrong. I'm going to add 2 words to that. Amateurs do things until they get it right one time. Professionals do things until they can't get it wrong. See, amateurs don't get paid, professionals get paid. The best people at what they do, the best professionals, the most highly paid professionals are the greatest and the best at what they do. Our challenge is not the reimbursement mechanisms. Our challenge for most of us is that we have become a profession of amateurs. We don't work on our craft. We don't work on our skills. We don't work on making ourselves better at the core things that we do. And in spite of all of that, based on what I asked you yesterday, I said, raise your hand if you adjust people. 95% of the hands went up. I said, how many of you get results with at least 80 to 90% of your people? 80 to 90% of your hands went up. And we have become lackadaisical in so many ways in our skills. Just become great at what you're good at. And then if there's something else that you find that may be available to you as a resource, and you feel like it could support what you're great at, then dig in and become great at that. The challenge is that when you keep moving away from what you're good at to find something else to maybe make you an extra buck, talking frankly, you take yourself away from what you're already attracting. For most of you, you're this close to living your dream. You're this close. The thing is, and I love this from the book Good to Great, if you've ever read that book, we have dissected it up and down at the family practice and with what we do with chiropractors. I read this book when I was on vacation, which was a really big mistake, because when I read the first line of the book, my vacation was over. My brain just went crazy. And it said, the first sentence says, good is the enemy of great. Good is the enemy of great. You know, when my kids, all 3 of my kids, chosen to be chiropractors, they're all in school right now. And you know what? I'm really inspired by that. I'm excited about it. I'm proud of that. I'm happy for our profession, and I'm happy for their future. They have got me more motivated. Not like I needed any extra motivation in my life. I'm a pretty motivated guy. But it really inspired me to know that that they believed in the way we lived our lives as a family, that they would want to follow in this work, in this footstep of chiropractic. And my kids would ask me, because I'm a really good adjuster. I am. We have a seminar called The Art of Family Practice. We teach adjusting. And what was interesting is that when my daughter started asking me, so Dad, what are you doing when you adjust the cervical sitting like that? With no rotation, how do you do that? How do you get the same sound almost every time? And you're gonna love my answer. You ready? Here was my answer. I don't know. I don't know. I've been doing it for 31 years. I forgot. So I went back and I started dissecting what I was doing that I was really good at. And I thought I was great at. And when I started thinking it through again, I got even better at it. And I started attracting more people that wanted it. And I started getting great at my communication about it. And all of a sudden, I didn't want to start another practice, but all of a sudden, with no advertising, no marketing, no special other things, it just began to grow again. So now I have to decide what to do with this thing that's happening. But I think what's important for you to understand as we go through the laws and the rules, right in your lane, if you stay in your lane and you take care of families and you do what you do and get great at it, you will protect yourself legally. You will protect yourself with relationships. You will build relationships with people that if there is ever a problem with an insurance company or with anything else, your patients will be on your side. They will fight for you. They won't fight against you, they will fight for you because you're great at what you do. And if you settle into that, because I know over the last couple of years, we've been bounced around with coding and documentation, which you should all nail down. You have great resources here at FCA. You should get it down. You should do it right. You should dot your I's. You should cross your T's. Do the right thing. But that's a prep time activity. Your prime time activity is what you do when you're with your patients, and get great at that. And do it for the newborn babies, the children, the families, the athletes, the concussed, the sports injuries, the 80 years old and the 90-year-olds, and everybody in between, because they need what we have. Let me tell you something. You've all heard the expression, I'm sure. Chiropractic first, drug second, surgery last. How many have heard that expression? Raise your hand high if you've heard that. Raise your hand high if you agree with that. Okay, great. Well, I disagree. Respect. I believe that as we mature and grow up as a profession and we get great at what we do and we understand the value of the uniqueness of each of us with our core principles at the center, that it should be and it will be chiropractic first, chiropractic second, chiropractic third, drug second, surgery last. Get great at what you're good at. Thank you.